So Dan, again, thank you for coming. Floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dan and Daniel and the team for organizing again this wonderful event and having us here. So as promised many years ago to Daniel especially, we are here to announce the early 1.0. And I finally sit and thought about it, and I also know why we didn't announce it sooner. And it's again from Toy Story. It's never rush art. So this is our main philosophy behind it. So I'll skip the commercial part and go directly to CGRateS. For those of you who don't know about it, it's a real-time enterprise billing suite. It's a framework in the end. We started with small functionality, but there was always more needed, and we ended up into a complete framework of billing. And it should be easily pluggable into existing infrastructure. So to integrate with existing billing systems, especially because we are engine, we are not a complete billing system. It should be also easy to accommodate new components once you evolve, especially 1.0, which is designed to be fully generic billing. It should be also non-intrusive, so you should not route calls through our system of choice in order to bill it. We should communicate with your platform. It's an open source software born in 2010. First sources published in 2012. Full sources are available on GitHub. 100% Golang, one of the early adopters of Golang. More than 450,000 lines of code over the last 15 years. We have serious consideration for community contributions, so please step in. 3 branches, indefinitely supported. We always say that, and we stick to it. We have the V010, which is our stable release, where we don't add almost no functionality, except the one which fixes the problems. We have then the master branch, which is again declared stable and which we use when we implement new projects. But there we are kind of allowed to insert new functionality. And we have the 1.0 branch, which is the new and fresh approach to billing, completely new accounting and rating. And inside this branch, we have put all our experience for the past 15 years of doing billing projects. It's all performance oriented. We have advanced caching system. We have asynchronous processing with microthreads. We have API load balancer, and recently we have added our own database implementation, so we don't longer rely on, you don't have to rely on Redis or Mongo. You can use our in-memory database with on-disk storage support. Kind of using or following Redis principles, but since we don't know for how long Redis will be open source, we decided that we are more open source than open source. So then modular architecture, cloud-ready microservices with all rich set of APIs. All what we do is API-based, and it's easy to enhance rewriting specific components if you feel the limitation of GPL or something, or your investors are driving you towards rewriting something in order to have rights on the software. It's test-driven development, over 10,000 tests as part of our test suite. It was actually from beginning we started with testing, because with billing you have to be a bit careful. What can you do with the software? Online, offline charging system. You can do a routing server, because it kind of goes hand in hand, routing LCR with billing. Fraud mitigation, since you have accounts and you have balances and all this resources like counting channels, counting number of minutes and stuff like that, then it's easy to do fraud mitigation on top of it. Then statistics, all these classic things like ASR, average call duration, average call cost and stuff like that, and also generic statistics, the type of average any field if you like to. Resource utilization control server, if you want to count channels per specific destination at specific time, you can do that and limit them. Mediation server and billing assurance. So these are some of the products which you can build on top of CGRateS and which we have built in the past. A bit of timeline. Project started in March 2010 after some ideas. First source is published in January 2012. First public appearance actually was here at Kamailio World 01 in 2013, in April 2013. So first stable release, quite a while after, now talking about the 1.0, we are conservative. So stable release was in 2020. Branch 1.0 was created in March 2021, and today, 2025, we finally speak about something on 1.0. What is CGRateS 1.0? It changes from previous implementation of charging, which was quite static and it was quite inflexible. So nowadays, we are going towards generic charging, which does not longer follow the telecommunication rules. Before we had since we implemented before, we come like you from consulting on top of open source projects like Kamailio, and we followed the needs of telecommunication billing, but 1.0 does not do that anymore, so it doesn't relate anymore to telecommunications, although telecommunication is one field of operations for 1.0. Charging events are completely dynamic, so we get hash maps and we apply billing logic on top of them. We have generic APIs for both keeping the sessions as well as billing the CDRs. It's agnostic to telecom industry, and then we have dynamic options in tariff plans, so we can decide pricing based on what's in the event. I'll show you a bit of that. Dynamic service configuration options, so we can also react depending on what's coming in the events, including configuring the services. And we use for that a component which we call filters for as central decision logic. We have also architectural improvements compared to 1.x versions. We are replacing altogether the float arithmetics with using decimals. Whether decimals it's ideal, we cannot say, because any float arithmetic, it's problematic in when you do operations divisions with floats. It's more web interface friendly, since we started directly with working with a web interface on top of it, and we have redesigned the microservices in order to be more individual and more controllable. So every one of our services, it's a microservice inside a general pool of services. Dynamic configuration options, as I told. Database stored configuration. Before we were always storing in files. Now we can combine with files and storing inside database. What's the purpose of that is if you want to reconfigure things from the web interface. So I'm not talking about the tariff plans, but the service configuration inside your system. Then we have standalone accounts and rates working in parallel. So before you could only have an event rated or charged with accounting, but now you can put in parallel information. For example, charge out of a bundle inside accounts, and also know the rate which would have been if you were not using accounts or whatever. And we have also dynamic tariff plan loaders, which was problematic because all of your carriers are sending, or most of the carriers are sending you the price list in their own format. And then you always have, for each individual carrier, you have to write own importer towards our static tariff plan. And now we have dynamic one where you just can select where is the price in which file and stuff like that. Then using cron for time scheduling, we had our own library, and since cron is more battle tested, we have decided to go with cron for time scheduling. Just some ideas, since everything in 1.0 is on top of filters. What is filters is some subsystem which is processing hash maps, generic events which are to be charged, and it has an expandable logic. So you can have various types of filters, like string, prefix, suffix, timings in terms of time, destinations, exists, less than or equal, and so on. So there are many types of filters which you can use. You are not anymore going with string or including API ban from Fred here. So also it's performance oriented. We index the string and prefixes, so they are fast. If you have 1 million of filters and only 2 of them are handling one particular account, based on the indexes, they will be grabbed. So you don't have to go through 1 million of filters to find out which profiles are using your account. And then you have dynamic data providers where you can query information outside of CGRateS dynamically. For example, look at the account status. If account has more than 5 euros in its bundle, then you apply some tariff. Otherwise, you apply something else, and so on. And like this, you can also use lib form number and HTTP generic queries. Configuration option for the filters. And now regarding rates, I'm doing quite some marathon here in terms of getting all the content inside. So rates, it's a core component, and it's replacing the old RALs with rating part, because before we used to have only one subsystem named RALs, and this was handling both rating and accounting. And now we have completely different system, rates, which is just attaching prices on events, and accounting, which is able to attach prices as well as use bundles and compute various stuff on this side. Now the rates will have only one single file, CSV file for management, or you use APIs to manage them. It will make use of dynamic filters instead of just the old destination prefix or string. And it can also get partial changes over APIs. This is in real time. It has a common interface for loading, like I told you, receive the pricing format from your provider and decide which field you take from where when defining the price list. And then you can also avoid float arithmetics by using decimals. And there is some new functionality regarding minimum cost of the call, because before you could only have maximum cost of the call. Highly configurable rating with all these connect fees and rating increments and rating units, which was there before as well. You can charge multiple type of records like we used to do before, data, SMS, WhatsApp, energy now, and cars, and I don't know, CPU cycles and whatever you want to do. The huge advantage of 1.0 is that you can mix products. For example, the new energy market, if you want to merge it together. I recently heard about Revolut launching telecommunications. So tomorrow an ISP can also launch energy services and bundle them together in the same pricing. The old billing systems, they are kind of strict, and you will end up with 5 different billing systems depending on how many products you have in your portfolio. But by doing this generic stuff, you can mix them together. And then you have multiple categories like calls, premium calls for the previous market, and then derived charging, like charging the same event multiple times. So you can have price for your distributor if you want to do the billing for your distributor and your resellers and this stuff. So how we evolved is, you see, before we used to define rates for a customer inside 6 different files. So, and now we define it in just one, which is a huge improvement in terms of management. And all this due to filters. And configuration options, you can see a rate profile can have dynamic weights, which means if you have multiple rating profiles matching your event for charging, let's say a CDR, you get multiple rating profiles, and based on these dynamic weights, which is a new functionality in 1.0, you can decide which profile will win. So depending on, I don't know, how many degrees are outside, you can change your price for your customer, which is kind of becomes interesting. This was just a joke, but you can think about checking his account or his statistics. So if he sent you 1,000 minutes today, you can give him one price. If he sent you 1,001 minutes for today, you can give him a different price. And all this without changing nothing but the dynamic preference. Then you can have maximum, minimum costs and a lot of rates inside, which they also have dynamic stuff. You can see fixed fee, recurrent fee, interval start. So each increment, which is 1 nanosecond for time-based charging, you can charge it in different way. Then accounts is replacing Ralph's accounting part, so the same as rating, and same single file for management. You can do prepaid, postpaid, or pseudo prepaid controller. And you can have balanced lifetime controls and stuff. You can have concurrent sessions per account. What I wanted to show also here is that accounts has changed. Before we used to deal with monetary and voice, SMS, and data. And now we are dealing with concrete, which is something which you can sell, and abstracts. And abstract can be anything. And you will have conversion table between abstracts. Abstract always needs to be paid with concrete. So it's the same analogy with monetary and voice. So you can give free minutes or minutes with price. But now you can give abstracts with price of concretes. And then from here, any kind of service you can think of, it can be emulated towards or abstracted towards this. And then you can also another difference is that the rates can be taken from rating system or can be also be defined here in accounting. How you can start playing with what we have today is Kamailio stays the same, use EVAPI module, and CGRateS, we even publish documentation before the functionality, which is a first for us. And you can have now, it's already packaged, so you can just take it from our app repository and start playing with it. It works today for postpaid and authorization. It doesn't work yet for real-time prepaid because we didn't come to an agreement what's the level of abstraction we need there, but it should be in a month or two already operational for full prepaid. So 1.0 should be ready to rock. We also, you don't know how much we want to work because we love so much this new fresh approach on the charging. After 15 years of doing the same thing, we like doing something else finally. So I think, yeah, and look, 5 seconds I had. Thank you very much.
Quick question. And then you two run out of...
I'm also fine to take questions outside. It's not a mandatory thing.
Hi, Dan.
Hi.
I've tried a couple of times CGRateS.
I heard that story before, so.
Without access.
Yes, but
Yeah,
please.
but my question is the next. Do you plan some decoupling some modules, other sub-services? Because right now you're doing like mostly monolithic service, which still gives some API for some particular, but for example, least cost routing and least cost routing, and then just, for example, how much charge you have to do or cost charger.
But
sub-models.
they are decoupled. You just have to configure, instead of querying themselves internally, you have to configure querying themselves over network. And then they are all decoupled. All our modules are working decoupled or internally. So as soon as you put, it's slower over network because it's milliseconds versus nanosecond speed, but all modules are decoupled. It's just
and
you have
so
to configure
I can use
them.
it afterwards on a postpaid. I mean, so to propagate their CDRs, and it's gonna be charged over the data I can propagate.
Yeah, you can.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sure.
So,
Thank you
one
very much,
question,
Daniel.
Sorry, but Mohammed, Igor, please approach Dan.
After that.